Today we're going to be looking at some algebraic operations, some review of some stuff from grade 11 about how we can manipulate equations and polynomials. So we don't always have to be given a polynomial in bracket form or factored form. Sometimes we have to be able to get ourselves into that form from a different one. Okay, so we know our standard form, this a bracket x minus s, x minus t is fantastic for us. But we also know we often get polynomials that look like this, right? We have the exponents all written out. We're going to try and work our way forwards and backwards between these two types of polynomials over the course of this unit. Today we're going to go from the bracket form to the exponent form, if you will. Okay, so we're going to try to remove all our brackets. We do that by multiplying, distributing, expanding all the brackets. Okay. Some things to remember: whenever you have things in front of brackets, we want to multiply everything inside the bracket by that value or by that term or by both of the terms. And when it comes to letters, if you have letters that are the same, you can add their exponents. Okay. So some examples here. I want to get rid of all these brackets. Okay. I need to multiply what's in front by what's inside. Now, there's always something in front of a bracket, whether it's just a 1, like in the very first case here, or down the road over here, a negative 1. Okay. There's always something in front of a bracket. So when I multiply these out, multiplying by 1 doesn't really do a whole lot, right? It just gets rid of the brackets. 3x squared plus 6x minus 1. Again, multiply by 1 doesn't really do a whole lot. It just gets rid of the brackets. 5x squared minus 7x plus 2. But when I multiply by a negative 1, it does have a pretty big effect. What it does is it's going to change my signs. A negative 1 times 4 would be negative 4x squared. Negative 1 times 9 would be negative 9x. And negative times a negative makes a positive 3. Now that my brackets are gone, I'm going to look for like terms. So I've got all these things that have x squareds in them. So 3 plus 5 minus 4 gives us 4x squareds. I got the 6, the minus 7, and the minus 9. That gives us minus 10x's. And then I've got negative 1, positive 2, and positive 3. And that gets me 4 things. So I've taken a complicated looking polynomial and made it into something simpler so I can look at my degree, my leading coefficient, all those good parts and pieces. Okay, we'll try the next one. Okay, this one, the idea of this one is about not things in front necessarily, but the fact there's multiple letters being multiplied. Okay, so we're going to multiply these two things out. Negative 3 times 5 is negative 15. M to the 3 times m to the 5. Since my letters are the same, I can add my exponents and I'll get m to the 8. And the same is true with the n's. N to the 4 and n to the 2 will make n to the 6. The letter M and the letter N are not the same, so I cannot put them together. That's as far as I can go on that one. Okay, we'll try the next one. I'm going to expand my brackets. So negative 5 times 3 is negative 15. I got some letters the same, x's. 2 and 2 makes 4. And there's also a y. Now this one's different because there's two things inside that bracket, so I need to make sure I multiply both of them by the thing outside. Negative 5 times 9 is negative 45. I have the two x's to start with, but there's no more x's. This time, there's a y and another y, and I got a y squared. And there's my expression expanded. If we try the last one, everything in front times everything inside. So the 3 is going to multiply with this bracket, the 2 with this bracket, and the negative 4 with this bracket. Every time I get a plus or minus sign between the brackets, it's basically creating a separate part of the question. So 3 times 4 is 12x, 3 times 2 is 6. 2 times x is 2x, 2 times negative 5 is negative 10. Negative 4 times 3x is negative 12x. Negative 4 times 5 is negative 20. I look for some like terms. I see x's, and more x's. Add them all together, I get 2 x's. And I have negative 6, negative 10, and negative 20, and that's going to make a total of negative 36. Okay, so our objective today is to sort of simplify these equations, things that look complicated, expand the brackets, and make them easier. We call that the distributive property. There are times where we have brackets that have more than one term in them, and we want to expand those things. To do that, we use a process called FOIL. FOIL is an acronym. Okay, F stands for first, O for outside, I for inside, and L for last. It's an acronym to help us remember which things to multiply. Okay, so if I take a look at the first one here, I'm going to take the F, the first thing in each bracket. So the x times x That's the first thing in each bracket. That makes x squared. Then I'm going to take the outside things in each bracket. So that would be the x and the negative 4. That multiplied is negative 4x. Then the inside things, okay, the 2 and the x are on the insides. And then the last thing in each bracket, 2 and negative 4, makes negative 8. Okay, and there should be 4 terms because I was multiplying 2 terms by 2 terms. 2 times 2 makes 4, right? So I should always have 4 terms when I'm done. If you did it right, the 2 middle terms should be like terms also. So these 2 right here. And if I collect those 2, I end up with x squared minus 2x minus 8. And you guys can try the next one. Pause it and give yourself a try, see what you can do. Okay. First, outside, inside, last. Collect them up. 2x minus x, there's no x's left anymore. Oh, sorry, that's not 2x, it's 21x there. Typo, 21x. 2x minus 21x is minus 19x. That definitely exists. And we're done. That's it, that's all. Now you can add extra parts and pieces in different places. When we come across something like this where we have a 2 out front, my suggestion is, or sorry, the 3 out front, we leave the 3 alone and we do FOIL with the inside stuff. So the 3 is going to be outside. We still have to multiply at the end, but we're not going to do it until we get to the end. So we go back to FOIL. 2x times x makes 2x squared. 2x times 2 is 4x. Minus 5x minus 10. Okay, collect them up. 2x squared minus 1x minus 10. Now that I've made it as easy as I can, now I'll multiply everything through by the 3. Okay, so I'll end up with 6x squared minus 3x minus 30. Okay. D talks about something a little bit different here. I see a bracket with a squared on it. If you stop and think about exponents, 2 squared, for example, that means 2 times 2. It's the thing, the base, this thing, times itself twice. So when I see a bracket with an exponent on it, it'd do the same thing. The thing that I have an exponent on, which is all of this, times itself. So when I see a bracket 2, I'm going to write it out once, twice, and then do FOIL. So 2x times 2x, 4x squared. 2x times negative 3 is minus 6x, and minus 6x again, and plus 9. The one thing you want to be careful with here is don't just square the bracket. Do make sure you write it out twice. Otherwise, you'll be missing this middle term, the minus 12x. And it's kind of important to have that middle term in there. We can combine some of those ideas. Okay, so we have brackets, things out front, things inside, adding and subtracting between brackets. So I would pause the video at this point, give it a try, see what you can do, and check back in and see if you got the right answers on some of these things, okay? Okay, so let's see how we did here. As we said before, we see a bracket squared, but let's write it out twice. Okay, we'll leave the number alone at the beginning until we need to deal with it. 5x times 5x is 25x squared. Then minus 5x and minus 5x plus 1. We'll collect all the like terms. One's in the middle there. They're important. And then we'll multiply it all by negative 3. So negative 75x squared plus 30x minus 3. Okay, take a look at F. I see 2 parts to the question. I say 2 parts because I see a minus sign between brackets. It's basically like separating my equation into 2 separate parts. The first part, we're going to FOIL it. X times 2x, 2x squared. X times minus 5x plus 6x minus 15. Minus, okay, I see a bracket squared. Oh, a bracket squared, I won't have to write it out twice. So let's do that. Okay, the first part, I can keep working this first part, and there's some like terms in there I can collect. The second part, I need to FOIL it out. Okay, FOIL out. X times x is x squared, plus 2x, plus 2x, plus 4. I've gone as far as I can with this first part, so I'm just going to keep writing it out. But in the second part, I can collect some like terms again. Now you notice I've been leaving the brackets around the second part, right? Because I haven't dealt with the multiplying, the thing that's out front here. And I need to keep the brackets to remind myself, oh, I need to multiply all that by negative 1. So I got two more lines here. 2x squared plus 1x minus 15. And then I'm going to times everything in the bracket by negative 1. So minus x squared, minus 4x, and minus 4. Now that all the brackets are gone, I can once again collect some like terms. So I got the 2x squared minus 1x squared. That gives me 1x squared. So I got 1x minus 4x, so minus 3x, and negative 15 and negative 4 makes negative 19. Okay, that's a pretty tricky one. Got lots of parts and pieces in it. Okay, G. G looks at it. Oh, again, I got a plus sign inside. Give us two separate parts. So, FOIL. Oh, x times x squared. That's different. We'll have x cubed this time, right? X times 3 is 3x. 1 times x squared is 1x squared. And 1 times negative 3 is negative 3. Plus 5. Okay, back to FOIL again. X times x squared. Plus 4x minus 2x minus 8. Collect the like terms. Now this first bracket doesn't really have any like terms, right? So since I can't collect it, I might as well expand it. So 2 times each of those things. 2x cubes minus 6x's plus 2x squared and minus 6. There were no like terms. I expanded my brackets. But this bracket does have some like terms. 4x minus 2x is 2x. So that time I had to do it in different parts and pieces. Okay, I can't collect anything, so I'm just going to write it out again. Over here, I need to expand my bracket, multiply everything by 5. So 5x squared, 10x's, and minus 40. And now on this last line, I'm going to try and collect all my like terms. I don't see any other x cubes, so just the two of them. Squares, I look for squares next. I see a positive 2 and a positive 5, that makes positive 7. X's, I see a negative 6 and a positive 10, so positive 4, and just regular old numbers, minus 46. And again, a pretty tricky one, but not pretty doable in the end. Okay, the last one here. The last one's a little different. I'm just going to move it down here so we can see it a little bit easier. Okay. Now this one has 2 terms in the first bracket, but 3 in the second. So I can't FOIL. There's no first, outside, inside, last one. You have a middle term, but I can use the idea of FOIL. The idea of FOIL was to multiply this, and then that, and then this, and then that. So basically, the first bracket, the first term in the first bracket, by everything in the second. And then the second term in the first bracket, by everything in the second. If I use that idea, that means to me in this case, I'm going to multiply x times that, and that, and that. And then the 2 times each of these things. And that will get rid of my brackets. If I give that a try, x times 2x makes 2x cubed. X times 4x is 4x squared. X times 1 is just x. Here's x times each of the first things, right? Then we do the same thing but with the 2 this time. 2 times 2 is 4x squared. 2 times 4 is minus 8x's. 2 times 1 is 2. No more brackets. Collect all the like terms. There's no other x cubes. The x squared is kind of interesting here. I got a positive 4 and a negative 4. Those cancel each other out, so actually no x squareds. I got a plus 1x and a minus 8, so minus 7x's. And I get the plus 2 at the end. Okay, that's how we can expand any brackets, regardless of how many terms are inside them. We take the idea of FOIL and multiply everything in the first bracket by everything in the second. Okay, I got one little application for you at the end here, and then we're done. I want a simplified expression for the volume of this box. And we talked about volume way back when. Volume was length, width, height. Right, the 3 dimensions multiplied together. So in our case, make my life easier, I'm going to do x times 2x plus 1 times 3x minus 2. It does not make a difference which order you multiply these in. I put the x out front because it makes my life easier, but it did not make a difference. What am I going to do? I'm going to FOIL. So x, leave it alone. Multiply the things inside right here by FOIL. 6x squared minus 4x plus 3x minus 2. Collect my like terms, 6x squared minus 1x minus 2, and multiply it all by x. So I get x3, I get x squared, and I get 2x. And that's how we can expand things involving algebra. Okay,